Operations on complex numbers. A complex number has a real part and an imaginary part. So how are we going to add these complex numbers? It's very similar to just adding expressions and combining like terms. So we add the real parts and we add the imaginary parts. Now when we subtract, we're going to have to distribute that negative. So now we're going to have 5 minus 3 is 2. That's the real part. And negative 2 minus 4, because I distributed that negative sign. So negative 2i minus 4i is negative 6i. Now we're going to multiply the complex numbers, and it's going to look very similar to multiplying binomials with FOIL. So we're just going to use FOIL. First pair, outer pair, inner pair, last pair. So now we need to multiply these. So I multiply these and I get 15i squared. And I know that I squared is negative 1, so that makes negative 15. So I have 8 plus 22i minus 15. Combining like terms, I have negative 7 plus 22i. Okay, this one you are to do on your own. So use the concept of FOIL to multiply those two complex numbers. Okay, what is the complex conjugate? To get the complex conjugate, you keep the real part and change the sign of the imaginary part. So we're going to keep the real part and change the sign of the imaginary part. So what's the importance of the complex conjugate? So I want you to take the number and multiply it by its complex conjugate and see what you get. Pause the video and multiply 2 plus I with 2 minus I. Okay, so we use FOIL and we get our 4 terms. Now, here's the whole key with the complex conjugate. Minus 2i and plus 2i are canceling. That just eliminated 2 terms, and it all comes from difference of 2 squares. Now, what is I squared? I squared is negative 1, so I have minus negative 1. This gives me 4 plus 1, which gives me 5. So what is the importance of the complex conjugate? Is if you multiply a number with its complex conjugate, the imaginary part disappears and you get a real number. So let's try that with negative 3 plus 7i and negative 3 minus 7i. Pause the video and use FOIL to multiply those together. So I use FOIL and I get my 4 terms. Those 2 middle terms disappear and I get 9 minus 49 times negative 1, which is 9 plus 49, which is equal to 58. So multiplying by the complex conjugate, I am left with a real number, no longer a complex number. So now I have a fraction and I have a complex number on the bottom. Now the rule is you cannot have a complex part on the bottom of your fraction. So we need to rationalize the denominator. So I multiply the top and the bottom by the complex conjugate of the bottom. That's going to make that imaginary part disappear. Okay, pause the video, use FOIL, and multiply your top and your bottom. So we multiply our terms together, and now we combine like terms. So I combine like terms, and now 15 times negative 1, 23 plus 2i over 41. Now the rule is you can have a complex number on the top of a fraction, you cannot have a complex number on the bottom. So now we have rationalized the denominator and we are done. The next problem is for you to do on your own.